Look at Noel Diesel. Noel Diesel continues to speak about being in a dark place. Is it possible that taking the steroids further precipitated this?
My opinion on steroids. I know your opinion about steroids, about me, whatever.
And so she's going over her steroid use in detail. She wants to talk about her experiences, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And because she's used them and because she stopped in that time, I do believe we should listen to her. I believe she has a very valuable and strong opinion on what you can expect if you take steroids.
But understand one thing, you won't change your body in 8 weeks, but you will be depressed after.
And so the first thing she says is this: if you take steroids, you are going to be depressed. If you take it for 8 weeks, yeah, you're going to look amazing, but you're going to be depressed. Personally, I think she's going too far. Not everyone. Just because she got depressed, just because her friend got depressed, doesn't mean that every single person that takes steroids, if they stop, are going to be depressed. I'm not saying it's not possible, I'm not saying it's not even likely, but there are people who take steroids and they don't get depressed.
Before you take steroids, you have a feeling like, I'm gonna get better today, tomorrow I'm gonna be better. But then when you take steroids, everything changed and it's downhill.
And I've already listened to her speak, and I do love this video, and she's being very open, honest, and transparent. She states, once you've taken steroids, life will never be the same. It's going to be different. Training will never be the same. Once you get on a cycle and you feel the changes within your body, both in your body and in your mind, you get so much stronger, so much better so quickly, it changes the way you think for years. And she states, it will never be the same. Training will never be as enjoyable as it once was while you're taking steroids. And I do believe that.
It took me 1 year to get better. It was 1 year of me now wanted to go to the gym, but I got better. I fixed myself.
And so she said, after taking steroids for only 1 year, remember, she said it's only Anavar and growth hormone. After 1 year, it took her an entire year to get normal. For the entire year after stopping, she didn't want to go to the gym. She didn't want to train. She felt like crap. She hated it. And so think of it. 1 year on, it took her an entire year to get that back. And so for me, I do believe that's probably the average. If you're on steroids for a year, it's probably going to take you a year to get used to not being on them. If you're on steroids for 3 months, probably going to take you 3 months to get used to being off of them. And so the bigger the dose, the bigger the gains, the more excitement you have when you're training. But as soon as you go off of those steroids, expect an equal and opposite reaction. If you abuse performance-enhancing drugs, expect to have a huge crash when you stop.
8 weeks of taking Anavar or whatever you want, it won't change your body. It literally will change the way you feel about things.
And so she says, in 8 weeks, it's not going to change your body, but it can in fact destroy your mind. I do believe it can do both. In 8 weeks, you can look completely different, but you're also going to feel completely different. I'm not just talking about the body, I'm talking about the mind.
Never take it or take it and remember you're going to be depressed. So my opinion on steroids is that.
And so she says, never take steroids, and if you do, remember, you are going to be depressed. And so she does give examples, and so she does have a point. Many bodybuilders are making videos saying they're depressed and stressed and talking about the negative parts about their lives. Is it possible that taking the steroids further precipitated this? Are the neurological adaptations, changes that are being made, epigenetics and so on, making certain genes express themselves? People are thinking differently. The wiring in the brain is getting different. Look at Noel Diesel. Noel Diesel continues to speak about being in a dark place, saying he was so uncomfortable making videos, very hard time speaking. He does not seem to be happy within his own skin. And remember, this is a guy who's abusing performance-enhancing drugs. Admittedly, yes, but is that affecting his mind? Would Noel, in fact, be happier had he never touched them in the first place? Perhaps Noel could make a video. Why I regret taking performance-enhancing drugs. Does he regret it? Does he need to be 300 pounds? And if so, why? Why does Noel have to be 300 pounds of muscle? He's an IFBB pro bodybuilder, but last I checked, he's not competing. Is it because he's not happy with his body? Is he not happy with his mind? What does he have to prove? He has millions of followers, way more popular than Coach Greg, but yet he's abusing performance-enhancing drugs. He's not on HRT. He's doing cycles. He wants to be massive, but why? Everyone loves Noel. And so why does Noel not want to be on this earth as long as humanly possible? Does he really need to abuse performance-enhancing drugs to be liked by the world? I personally believe that if Noel went 100% natural, at least on HRT, he would significantly impact the population. He has so many followers that look up to him that if he could show that you can go off performance-enhancing drugs and be happy, that would influence so many people to do the same. And so I'm all for people building confidence and getting increased self-esteem, taking chances and risks, but do you really need to take performance-enhancing enhancing drugs to allow you to do so? Really think of it. Does Noel have to have that amazing physique to allow him to speak in front of people? Could he in fact do the same video with 50 pounds or even 100 pounds less muscle? And so remember, not everyone is Noel. Not everyone is 300 pounds of muscle, 6'2", good-looking guy, and so very capable of standing in front of others. Imagine if he were a 5'6" man like Coach Greg. Imagine if he had no confidence, if he could not speak as well. Some people are never going to have the confidence of a Noel, and perhaps they resort to taking performance-enhancing drugs to give them that extra boost in self-esteem and confidence in order to go and tackle the world.
But it's going to make you lose hair, so it's about you. If you decided that is what you want, go ahead.
And so she says, there are other side effects to worry about. Not just being depressed, but also losing your hair. Now, for women, that is a huge concern. Imagine being a woman going bald. And men also petrified of losing their hair. Steroids can, in fact, speed up the balding process. You can lose your hair more quickly. It does, in fact, exacerbate the problem.
Everybody who takes steroids, doesn't matter if you're professional or not, go ahead and watch SEBU's video.
And so she says, everybody that's taking steroids is having a problem. I don't care if you're a professional, amateur, anyone. She's like, go and check out SEBU's channel. It's all about, I'm depressed, I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling that way, I'm struggling with this, struggling with that. And Chris does in fact have an autoimmune disease, which arguably is being made worse by the fact he's abusing performance-enhancing drugs. And we can all say he's not abusing them. He's getting his blood work done. Absolutely. He has an amazing coach. Absolutely. Of course he does. But is it actually possible to take drugs at that level, even in smaller doses than most pros, and not have any negative detrimental effects on your body? I don't think so. I'm not a doctor. I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty convinced that if you're 240 pounds with 4% body fat, shredded, dieting year after year on a starvation diet, that something bad has to be happening. Perhaps not right now, but it's going to be made worse year after year. The long-term damage is what's really concerning. I highly doubt that someone is going to end up in the hospital dead from taking steroids, even in a massive dose for one day. But you take smaller doses above what a doctor recommends, and you do that repeatedly year after year, how can it not do damage to your body?
Bullshitting, oh, my life is this. No, your life is great. Steroids makes you feel and see things differently.
And so she says, steroids make you feel and see things differently. You're not the same as you were on steroids as when you were off. And so when you're taking them, you are seeing the world through a different lens. It is not the same as when you're natural. Natural versus enhanced are two completely separate things. When I was on steroids and I went to the gym, when I talked to people, I felt different than when I was off them. You simply feel different. It's hard to explain. It's hard for people to understand. But when you're taking steroids, which is a drug, it's affecting your behavior, your mood, how you talk to people, and how you receive and analyze the information being presented to you by your senses. It's not unlike any recreational drug. Think of it. When you take drugs, perhaps it's THC, you're smoking a doobie, you're doing that M stuff, or perhaps you're sniffing creatine. If you're doing any of these things and you're talking to someone, touching something, looking at something, does it not feel different? Is it not an alternate experience to when you're sober? And so how is it any different when you're on steroids? You may not notice it, you may not think this, but what's actually happening into your body, inside your brain, is you're being exposed to things in an alternative manner. You might think you're normal at that time. At the time, you're thinking, no, it's all me. I know what I'm doing. I feel good. I like this. I'm going to keep doing more. Keep giving me more steroids. I want to win. I want to be the Mr. or Mr. Olympia champion. But in reality, your mind is being altered by these drugs. You're not aware of it, but just think of it. You're on trend. Do you really think that that's not going to change your behavior? Do you not think you might have increased aggression, anger, behavior, perhaps an increased desire for sexy time, more or less? Can steroids not give you an increase in overall feelings of well-being? Or can it possibly make it worse? Can it give you anxiety? Of course it can. Even drugs like clomiphene, which some influencers may or may not have taken, like Alex Eubank, can in fact alter your mood. And what about Yizzy? You know, that postmenopausal boy. Is he actually only smoking cigarettes, or has he used performance-enhancing drugs in the past? And if he has, is it alternating his senses? If you're someone who uses steroids, do you not think you're more likely to use recreational drugs? You're taking a drug, think of it. You're injecting things into your glutes. Do you really think it's a far stretch from injecting things in your glutes or delts to taking something else? Of course not. Taking one drug leads to another. It's a gateway drug to other drugs, and people are not thinking of this. And so the next time you think, oh, I'm going to take this SARM, or it's only Anavar, Is it really? Is it really only that? Can it actually affect you greatly for the rest of your life?
I am not looking to be depressed. So like I said, I'm gonna have another kid.
And so she says, look, I'm gonna have another kid. I don't know when, but I'm not taking anything until that time. I don't want it to affect my baby. And so if I do in fact take something, perhaps HRT, I'm going to take it for the rest of my life. I don't want to go through depression. And so once you take something, you cannot stop. Case in point, Coach Greg. I took and abused steroids for over 10 years. And what am I doing now? I'm on HRT. Do I need HRT? I don't think you need anything. Well, perhaps I need food and shelter, clothing to survive. But if I was taking away HRT, if it didn't exist anymore, I'm sure I would function. I just wouldn't feel as good. Perhaps I would get depressed, as she describes. Perhaps my sex drive would go down to the toilet and I wouldn't sleep as well. Perhaps it wouldn't be as sharp, wouldn't have the same joie de vivre. And so how can you possibly sit there and say, I'm going to take steroids at 16, 17, 18 years of age, like Chris Bumstead, and think it's a good idea? Your brain has yet to develop. It doesn't even finish developing until you're 25.
Don't come to my workout program and say, oh, but what if I do this? I don't know how to guide you through steroids. I do not know.
And so she states, I don't train people who take steroids. I don't know about them. Even though she took them for a year, doesn't she know she's an expert? So just because her coach, trainer, boyfriend says, take this, take that, do you really think you should listen to them? Do they really seem as educated as they need to be to guide you 100% effectively? When you're taking steroids, you're playing Russian roulette with your health. And so when you let your coach tell you what to take, you're basically giving your life in their hands. But remember, they're not a doctor. They're not trained to do this. And so although they may know a lot, and although they may care about you deeply, it doesn't mean they're qualified to direct you on what to do.
Not being hypocrite, I took it, took me 1 year to come off, and I'm very happy right now.
And so I see very similar resemblances in her to me. She's the happiest she's ever been right now. She used to take steroids, very difficult for her to come off. And she's not being a hypocrite. She states she's taken this in the past, but she simply wants to get the message out there. She wants to tell people, please don't do it. There are horrible things that can happen, and so please think twice.
I'm happier because I feel I'm never depressed.
And so she says, look, I'm not as good as those professional girls. She's not an IFBB wellness pro. She knows she could look better if she were to take performance enhancing drugs. And by better, I mean better according to the eyes of perhaps a bodybuilding competition. But she doesn't need that. She's not depressed. She's happy. She feels good.
Like I said, I'm not here judging, pointing my finger to nobody.
Just being real.
I'm just being real.
And so she's saying, my clients are begging me, please tell me what steroids to take. She's like, I don't know what to do. Yeah, I took it for a year. Anavar and GH. And sure, she could say, take 10 milligrams of this, 5 milligrams of that, 1 IU this, 1 IU that. But does she really need to do so? She doesn't want you to do it. And so in her eyes, being a good coach is trying to convince people not to do it. Many people are going to do it anyway. Just like drinking alcohol, doing recreational drugs, some people are just going to do them. But she does not want to be involved in helping people to do so. She's not an expert. Although she's done it, she doesn't want to be involved.
And I went to the hospital because my coach at that time told me I was too strong and I had to take clenbuterol.
And so typical competitor stack, she took Anavar and growth hormone, added in clenbuterol to help her get more shredded than last time. 2 drops, hospital. She took too high a dose. Clenbuterol, it's not safe. Many people think, oh, it's just a fat burner. It's no big deal. It's not safe. It's not good for your heart, especially when taking too high a dose. And so even when I took it, I took the lowest dose that made me happy, just enough to feel it. Many competitors, I've heard their cycles. I heard what they're doing. They're taking ridiculously high doses early on. They're shaking, not feeling good, can't sleep. And so you got to ask yourself, is it really worth it? I don't think so.
My experience with steroids without a doctor guiding me was not good. I lost hair too, and I was always angry.
She states, I was taking steroids, I was losing my hair, always angry. It changed who she was as a person. Do you really want to risk this? This is a woman, but remember, it applies to men as well. You are not the same person on steroids as when you are not.
If you're younger, I don't think you need it. You gotta keep working hard. If you do steroids and don't eat, you're never gonna have progress. So.
And another thing, if you're doing steroids and you're not eating enough, you're not gonna get the progress. And so people, listen, if you're young, don't do it. If you're older, don't do it. But at least wait longer than last time. If you're on the fence, you're not sure if you should do it, don't do it. If you're on the fence, maybe I should diet down for that competition. Don't do it. Only do these things if you really desperately want to. If it's your life's calling, you really feel it, I can't wait to do it, which is how I felt, I highly suggest you don't do it, because the chance of developing an ED, and I'm not talking about the downstairs, an ED, the kind where you eat improperly, very high. Once you've been judged based on how you look, very hard to look at yourself in the same way. If you are having problems with the downstairs, don't forget about harder than last time, literally for or the downstairs. You know what I'm talking about. As well as G-Test. If you're dieting, your testosterone levels are likely going to drop, and so G-Test can help boost your natural testosterone levels by up to 200 to 400 nanograms per deciliter. And of course, we have Ecti Builder, various Ecti steroids to help you put on muscle. We have GO2 Max, and my favorite Seco protein bars. Absolutely delicious. How are you dieting without this? I don't know. Perhaps you just have more willpower than Coach Greg. But regardless, code Greg 10% off. Click the link in the description if interested in any of this.
Eating your meals, because once you go to the dark side,
you're fucked.
And so find happiness in the grind, in the pursuit of excellence, trying harder today than you did yesterday, being better tomorrow than you were today. It's about daily steps towards a goal. You don't need steroids to get better. Perhaps if you're in your 30s and you've already reached your natural genetic limit, then yeah, you're not going to get better. But for the most part, nobody I know has been training for over 10 years harder than last time. And so all of you should be working towards that goal. Be the best version of yourself. Set your eyes on the prize. Imagine your dream physique, but don't think you need to get it. Halfway there. So long as you're doing better, you're doing what you need to do, and you should be proud. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm. Don't forget to watch one of the 2 bloops. Of course, the Harder Than Last Time clothing line, including the tank tops, hoodies, jog pads, t-shirts, shorts, and my various book collection. I'm not talking about Attached and 8 Rules of Love and 12 Rules of Life from Jordan Peterson. Reading all of them, please check out these books, the cookbooks, the training books, the Circle Diet book. You can learn so much from these books, as well as from books helping in your relationship, communication, and self-actualization. And so let me know in the comment section, do you want Coach Greg to start a book club where we can go over relationship books, communication styles, how to talk to women, and so on? Let me know if you're interested in that. Ending it here. Don't forget to subscribe, click the bell button, watch the bloops, and leave a comment, like the video, purchase all kinds of stuff. Code Greg 10% off, free diet and training program at the website, first and last name and email address. And until next time, I am out.